The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And hello, K-Man, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. We're your hosts, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and of course, yes, welcome to your favorite program with your two favorite talk show hosts. And of course, boy, it's an exciting lineup today, Mr. Harris.
It certainly is. Happy Friday to our listening audience. And yes, it is an exciting lineup. As we promised you yesterday, we have been celebrating K-Man Art Week all week long. And what better way to get us started here in studios than sharing some fantastic information on K-Man's newest board game created by local creator Carolee Aaron, who is our distinguished guest in studios. Miss Carolee, good evening and welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening, Austin and Ellio. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Ellio, thank you for putting the offer.
Yeah.
And for allowing me to be here. And, you know, I am just ecstatic to be here.
Awesome.
Well, we are absolutely thrilled to have you in studios. I think both of us almost immediately had the same reaction when we first learned about the game and then learned that it was you behind the game because obviously, you know, you're a personal friend to both of us. And we were delighted and almost jumped at the chance.
And I just wanted to append there, I'm happy to have you here on the program, but wanted to stress, you know, this is a little partnership between Austin and I, so it couldn't have happened without the both of us. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We are indeed. Well, we're here to talk about, and I will soon share some images of the game for you, but here to talk about the newest board game to hit the shelves all across the Cayman Islands. It is called Pullover, and it is it's a fantastic, I think, fast-paced car racing game created by local creator Carolee Aaron as our guest in studios. Now, Carolee, we were talking a little bit, you know, during our break before the show started. Obviously, your career started in financial services. You spent the greatest part of your career, I think 35 years
In banking.
Recently retiring in 2022. And then I think this is an interesting transition from banking to board games. Talk to us about...
And it's not a Monopoly game.
It's not a Monopoly game.
Pull
Maybe
over.
that might be the next one. Who knows?
Yeah.
But talk to us about how you came up with this idea for this fantastic game that we have here.
Well, Pullover started, let's say it birthed during Hurricane Ivan. I was so thankful to the Lord that my house was perfectly fine. So I was able to host my brother and his family, my best friend and her family, and we had children at the house. And this is the time now, no electricity,
Right.
no internet.
Family needed each other at that point.
Family needed each other, and I had children ranging from age 4 to 11 or something like that, and they needed to be entertained. Now, I'm thankful that I'm from an era before the internet, so
Right.
I had some tricks up my sleeve on how to entertain them, and one of the things that I did, and because the few board games that I had at the house, they're a bit complicated for all to play and enjoy at the same time. So I started to put pen to paper, we call it, or pencil to paper, and start drawing. The main thing is we're all accustomed to the road. The children drive the road, parents drive the road, adults drive the road. So I started with a road concept, you know, and over time as we played it, I add different components to it. Naturally, on every road, you'll see the universal sign, the stop signs, yield signs, all these type of signs. So I throw those in, add in some penalties or good stuff that you have to follow along with these things. So that is how it really started.
But initially, it wasn't a case that you were planning on making a board game. You were just doing it to entertain the kids.
Doing it for entertaining the kids.
All right.
Right? because I'm a banker.
So you had your focus group, man.
Yes. But naturally, when electricity came back,
Yes.
life went back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Life went back to lifing. And so the board game was put aside.
Uh-huh.
But over the years, pullover keep pulling me back to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't just forget it and say, well, time is finished, just work alone. Over the years, I pull it out, dust it out, work on it, tweak here, add something here, change here, you know, redesign it.
Sure.
And so that is basically how it came about.
So the concept for the game started perhaps whilst you were still in banking, but the actual development of it into anything other than something for your own family's use came after.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
no, I was just gonna say. So when did it finally dawn on you that maybe I should make this an actual game for persons to purchase?
Well, fast forward to around when I retire or transition from banking. I cannot call it retiring because I work in 24 hours still. But
Right.
I transitioned from banking. And I did that because I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do.
Right.
Right? So in 2022, when I left banking,
I see.
I just basically put focus on the game. You know, I focused truly on the game. I had the time. And it's a matter of something I discussed with my daughter. And I said, what do you think? Can I really put it out there?
Sure.
Can it really match up with all the other games out there?
So you consulted one of your greatest supporters.
My greatest supporter is my daughter. And she said, you know what, Mom? You have this game for so long. She watched me working on it over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, go ahead. Do it. At least live to see that it's done.
Yes, indeed.
Live to see that it's done and see come to life.
Well, for those of you out there and those of you perhaps who might be on Instagram, you can check out some more details on the game at Pullover Board Game as the keywords for the Instagram. And again, included in that Instagram account are a number of testimonials, which I had the opportunity to listen to just yesterday, which I thought were fantastic. Clearly, it's a hit. And if I'm not mistaken, the testimonials, I think I listened to 3 of them. They were from persons who work within the RCIPS traffic unit, weren't they?
Wow.
I thought they were.
Oh, wow.
They looked like they were.
I mean, I get testimonial all the time. I have people just randomly play the game with someone
Yes.
and say, Miss Kylie, what's up, me? Miss Kylie, I played your game. I want one. It's fantastic. I love it. And when they play it, they WhatsApp me back and say, Miss Kylie, I played it elsewhere. And so it's just starting to snowball.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What has been some of the feedback that, persons have expressed to you personally after, trying out the game for the first time?
One thing they always say that not only that they love the game, they love that it's easy to follow,
Okay.
right? I have someone tell me, your game is a de-stressor.
Well, that's good.
They played it in an office setting. And
All right.
so we're not talking children now.
Yes.
Office setting. And they said, your game is a de-stressor.
Okay.
Because it's something that you can play and it's not a lot of strategy.
Uh-huh.
So you can just be free to play it with your friends, a lot of laughter, a lot of bantering.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing that came out of some of the testimonials.
Okay. Well, if we look at the description, just very quickly, Pullover is a fast-paced car racing game. The aim is to be the first driver to reach the finish line. This is a race of chance, and it takes place on the main streets and highways, so you must obey the road signs or face consequences. Speeding, as you know, much like it is in life, may result in penalties or fines. So the cops are always waiting around the next bend to capture you who might be zooming by. And if that happens, obviously there are penalties attached to it as well. But start your engines and enjoy the race and see which one of your family members may come in first.
Yes.
How many people can play the game at one time?
Up to 6 players, and I call them drivers.
Okay.
But the unique thing about Pullover is that it can be played with various range of age, all at the same time and enjoyed by all.
Okay.
So I said from age 8 plus, so I'm saying from age 8 to 999 can play this game. Once you fall in the age range of 8 and 999.
All right. All right.
So I have to jump in to say, first of all, you know, in the spirit of transparency, I mean, you know, Carly is my schoolmate.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just look back and say, I don't think I would have been able to look at you in school and say, you're going to invent a board game, Carly. But I do remember during school, that was the rainy weather thing, right? You stayed inside and played games. I don't know. Some probably look forward to that more than others. But maybe this is some top secret, but how did you go about doing it? I mean, I think I can probably get an idea how to write a book, right? But the idea of a board game just honestly never crossed my mind.
Because not only you have to start with an idea, but then there's, you know, some art involved. You've got to, you know, design the layout for the game and choose the colors for the game.
And how do you get in touch with the
size of it all? I mean, it really is a monumental undertaking. So we can't say, you know, enough good things about it. But talk to us about the game development.
Well, with developing the game, the good thing about this time that we live in, information is freely there.
Yes.
The internet is there. You can research. You can get information, right? So developing the game was easy. Finding a manufacturer that you feel that can work with you within your price range. But, you know, you're starting out. So that part is pretty easy. Work with research.
Okay.
Now the idea, it comes with time. And I figure just with any author writing a book, it comes with time. I don't think someone can write a book in a week, right? So, and with a board game, it requires, well, I only can say God-given talent is one thing. But it requires you to take the time and think.
Right.
Because you have to say, if this happened in the game, well, what is the result? And if this play happened, what would you want? What would you want the next step to be?
Right.
So it does. I don't know if it's banking flow charts. I'm reading all those banking manuals on. Okay, you follow along.
Step one, step two.
Step two, maybe. Maybe that is all part of it.
Either way, somewhere you learned that good processing in your mind.
I believe so. So yeah.
All right. Well, total awesome. So again, like I said, honestly, it's just something that never really honestly occurred to me. So when I actually saw it posted, I said, why didn't I think of that? I should have been working on a board game. So how do you feel now, Carly, seeing this product on the shelf? It must give you a tremendous amount of pride.
Oh my. I am proud. I'm ecstatic. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to everyone to have it as a staple in their home.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel accomplished. When I got the prototype, oh my, I think I smiled and laughed the entire day until my cheeks hurt.
Imagine.
So just seeing it live from my scrap paper and into the prototype. So, you know, you get the prototype first to see if you want to make any
Final tweaks.
Change.
Sure.
And just holding that prototype in my hand, I only can just be grateful and thankful to the Lord, as well as I just felt like, I know I did banking, but this was just a different level of accomplishment.
Oh, awesome. But I want to say, as a schoolmate, as a fellow Caymanian, I am so super proud of you.
No, absolutely. Well, again, as we talked about the aim of the game, obviously it's a car racing game, but there are a few pitfalls and challenges along the way. Obviously, the cops are always on the road in this game.
And
so
Road.
Say again?
Say that again?
In Cayman Road.
And it's Cayman Road, exactly. It is a Cayman Road, so you'll see, you know, some scenery that may look familiar to you. But in addition to potentially getting speeding tickets, I see there are things like you may need an oil change, or you may get a flat tire throughout the game.
Right.
Your gas may be low. So it's not simply a mad dash to the finish line, but there are a few hoops and or challenges to overcome. Yes?
Yes, exactly. And those are things that happen normally on the road once you have a vehicle, once you're driving. So not just, as you say, not just a match just a dash to the finish line.
Right.
Real life stuff, real life things are also incorporated.
Right.
Because anything can happen to your vehicle while driving.
Very
And
true.
I consider all those things. And as well as it's important that people playing the game, it feels real life driving as well.
Mm-hmm.
They can identify with these things. Yes, there's some penalties,
Yes.
but there's good, bad, and ugly in the whole pullover card set. So not every time you're paying out, sometimes you can be receiving sponsorship
Right.
to the delight of those who is collecting and not so much for those who is paying out.
Quite right. Quite right.
Well, I imagine that the game is for up to any age, probably. But is there a sort of age that you think is safe to start? I mean, after all, people are driving.
Well, we know legally
Yeah.
what age you can drive at, but for pullover, you could start at 8.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
I've known some children who much younger play pullover,
Right.
right? Because once you can
Roll the dice and
roll the dice and
get,
read,
get a
and your parents also can help you, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
awesome.
The good thing about pullover is a true game of chance.
Mhm.
You cannot strategize to win this game. As the creator, I rarely win the game. I don't think I've ever win the game.
What?
well, that's a good one because it's not a case where you can have that one guy in the house that makes no sense to play. He's always going to win.
Exactly.
And what I like about what you just said as well is that it sounds like even if a very much younger child starts to play, it's a good way to get your children reading and stuff too if they have an interest in it, right?
Exactly. Because I can tell you some, while I know I created the game purely for fun, because it was just for fun, but I know of a government institution, maybe I could shout them out,
Yes.
the, oh Lord, the Sunrise Center.
Okay.
They purchased the game and they're using it as a learning tool
Right.
for their clients because they find it's easy to play. They can explain some road
signs and so on.
And the cash aspect of it. With the paying and receiving. So they have used it as a learning tool. That was not in my imagination at all.
Mhm.
So I'm happy for that. And parents can use it to teach reading in a fun way. That is fine. Also, I'm glad when people is using it for other good purposes.
Well, that's an amazing thing. You might start with one idea and it'll just evolve. The users
Yes.
will start to create additional things too. Who knows? We'll have a pullover 2.0.
Indeed. Well, if you would like to either ask our guest a question or certainly extend some congratulations to her for being Cayman's, I dare say, first local game developer. I don't know of anyone else who's developed games in Cayman's. If I'm mistaken, then I obviously apologize. But our own local creator of the newest, hottest, and I dare say most exciting board game you've played in a long time. It says ages 8 and up, but I can promise you that Ellio and I will be playing this game. So 745-2626 is the number. Or, of course, you can reach out to us on our WhatsApp number by dialing 928-2562. And either you can send us a WhatsApp audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. We do have one such audio note on WhatsApp. So, Ms. Carol, I'll ask you to put on your headphones and hear from at least one or two of our listeners. We got a call on the line as well coming up. But once you get situated with your headphones, we will play it. There we go. Let's hear from at least one.
Not only was she my supervisor at Barclays Bank,
Oh, Kelly!
but as a small business owner myself who is in the touring business, I applaud her efforts. I don't play games, but I'm serious when it comes to towing. But in a professional capacity, I support all small businesses in the beautiful Cayman Islands. And I can tell her now, when we were working at Barclays or in the financial institution we were working, because we all had bad habits, wanted to stay in our home and have light and water and have clean clothes. Now, if you don't want to work a day in your life, you find something that you truly enjoy. And the joy of her creating a game that is not only stress relief, but is a motivator for me now. She can include, whenever she so desire to upgrade, towing services and use 24/7 towing in her game.
All right. All
That's just
right.
my opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm proud of her.
All right.
Thank you
Condolence.
so much.
Condolences. Congratulations, I should say.
Yes, man. Thank you very much,
100%.
Theo. Do appreciate your
Thank
call.
you.
And
Thank
That
you.
was a wonderful message.
it is a wonderful message. And maybe pull over two will include the additional challenge. You may get broken down on the side of the road and need to be,
Exactly.
taken to the garage.
There it goes.
You know?
These things are making.
That's what I tell you. Just keep evolving, you know?
Indeed. We have a caller on the line as well. Let's go to the phone lines. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Good evening. How you all doing today?
Doing
Very
very
good.
well. Thank you. If you can turn down your radio for me, please.
All right. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ellio said he went to school with her. Well, I went to I was in school with Ellio as well. Which school was that? High school, middle school, or Trooper Youth School?
Who knows? It might have been all of them. Who knows?
Might have been. Might have been.
Savannah,
Oh,
middle school, high school. That was our trend.
well, I guess I should know her then. But I'm also a game designer.
Okay.
I started mine is in a different category from hers. So she has the what you call it? Is it table game?
No,
It's a board game.
it's kind
Yeah,
of a board game, just like how you'd have Monopoly and so on.
Yeah, mine is in the category of the pool table, billiards, and that sort of thing.
All right.
Yeah.
But I like her intellect. I can remember thinking different ways, like how she expressed herself, and talking about the prototype and feeling proud of it. Now, I'm really proud of her myself.
Yeah.
That's really creative. I saw something about it in the newspapers.
Yes.
But like I said, mine is a little different. Mine and the name I had for mine is Gambinotti.
All right. Well, maybe we can have you on as our next guest to talk about your game. We do have another caller on the line. Let's see if we can take that. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm calling from all the way from Bermuda because I'm so excited about this game.
Bermuda.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Great to have you on
That's
the air.
right.
So have you
Thank
played the
you.
game?
I have many times. It's so exciting. It's like snakes and ladders versus it's like snakes and ladders and Monopoly put together.
Oh, wow.
That's what it's like. Except it's not slow like Monopoly. It's very fast-paced and fun.
All right.
Lots and lots of fun.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to call.
Yeah.
Obviously endorsing the game on behalf of its
Definitely.
studios.
I do have a.
And I wanted to find out. About from Carolee if that game is going to be coming to Bermuda soon. If she's planning to distribute it
Yes.
internationally.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
just in Cayman.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that's a very good question, and allow me to take the opportunity to answer it right now because it is available. And in the few moments we have left, let's talk to audiences about where they can find it. You can find Pullover, Cayman's newest and greatest board game. As the last caller said, it's a cross between Steps and Ladders and Monopoly. You can find it at Book Nook at the Galleria along West Bay Road. It's available at the Toy Box. It's available at Capstone, which is there on Mary Street, and at Mesa del Sol at Cabana Bay. It is also coming to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, hopefully very soon.
Yes.
And it will also be available online. So if you're living in Bermuda or you're living anywhere around the globe, you can log on to pulloverboard.com and get more details and obviously, hopefully, be able to buy it online. Is that right?
That's correct. You can buy it online right now at pulloverboardgame.com.
All right.
Well, from that call, it sounds like you have at least one person that may be willing to distribute it in Bermuda.
Yes. No,
Yes.
you never know. You might just have that indeed. So to our Bermuda caller, pulloverboard.com is the website, and we want to encourage you to check it out, go online, and obviously, again, you have the game yourself. Got another WhatsApp message. I bought Pullover last Christmas for my grandkids, age 4 and 5, when Carolee first introduced it. It's a fun family game for all ages, although the youngest wasn't too happy. we had to pay a fine and give up his money. I love it. Congratulations to you, Carolee, on this fantastic accomplishment. And certainly, Carolee, we join with her and the listening audience for their accolades and congratulating you. We've got about a minute remaining, so I want to give you an opportunity for some final and or closing remarks.
Some contact information, maybe.
As well as some contact information. Good point.
Yes. The main thing is, please don't forget, please go and support me at these businesses, Book Nook, the Toy Box, Capstone, and Misa del Sol. I'm so thankful for these businesses for having me on the shelf. And one thing I have to say to everyone in the listening audience, if you have a dream, you have a talent, don't give up on it, right? They live it inside of you, and they're waiting for you to, they're just waiting for you to be achieved. So don't give up on it.
Pursue it.
Already. And please, don't call me. I don't have any tips to help give you, share with you how to win the game. You're at the mercy of the dice. It's a true game of chance. You play it 1,000,001 time, and you'll have 1,000,001 different outcome each time. That is the beauty about it.
You had the later contact you from Bermuda. Is there a way to email or on the website they can contact you if people want to maybe distribute the game? Or
but if she visit pulloverboardgame.com, then you do have a contact page, and that comes straight to me by email.
Fantastic. Well, Carolee, I want to thank you for being our guest and encouraging the folks. Pulloverboard.com is the website address. Check it out. There'll be more Straight Talk coming.
Bobo.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cohort truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority. At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands. Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The European Trade Commissioner, Maroš Šefčovič, has said the EU stands prepared to defend its interests after President Trump said he would raise import taxes on all goods from the bloc to 50%. Mr. Trump made the remarks earlier on Friday ahead of talks between Mr. Šefčovič and his US counterparts. Later, at a news conference in the White House, he explained one of the reasons behind his decision.
They sell millions and millions of cars, as you know, Mercedes and BMW and Volkswagen and many others. And we were restricted from, essentially restricted from selling cars into the European Union, which is not nice. I just said it's time that we play the game the way I know how to play the game.
A French court has given prison sentences of up to 3 years to members of a gang that robbed the American star Kim Kardashian at a hotel in Paris in 2016. She was held at gunpoint and tied up while millions of dollars worth of jewellery were stolen. The perpetrators became known in France as the Grandpa robbers because of their age. They will not return to prison because of time already served in pre-trial detention. From Paris, Andrew Harding.
The judge tonight said this was a deliberately lenient verdict, given the man's age and often ill health. There were tears of relief and a lot of hugging in the courtroom. This is a case that has revealed a great deal about France's criminal underworld, but it's also, I think, revealed plenty about our enduring fascination with celebrity.
Ukraine and Russia have begun a major prisoner exchange, with each side releasing 390 people captured during the war. More are set to be freed in the coming days. The agreement was the only concrete outcome of last week's direct talks in Istanbul. Our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse, has spent the day with families waiting for their loved ones to arrive back home.
This has always been the sole area of cooperation between Russia and Ukraine, and this major exchange, which includes civilians, is the only breakthrough in an otherwise fruitless endeavor led by America to try and bring a lasting peace. And despite that, Donald Trump believes that this could be the start of something more. This could be the foundations of some kind of ceasefire. But with the lack of accompanying evidence, you feel that is more of a hope.
A mass stabbing attack at the main train station in the German city of Hamburg has injured at least 12 people, 3 of them with life-threatening wounds. Police say they've arrested the suspected perpetrator, a 39-year-old woman. They say there's no evidence of a political motive and she was thought to have acted alone. World News from the BBC. A UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights has warned that the integrity of Guatemala's legal system is at risk. Speaking at the end of a fact-finding mission, Margaret Satterthwaite highlighted the growing persecution of independent judges, lawyers and journalists, and warned that Guatemala's democratic future hinged on how judicial appointments and criminal law were wielded in the months ahead. The rapporteur said the Office of the Prosecutor General, Consuelo Parras, appeared to systematically use criminal law to deprive people of fundamental rights. Rescue workers in South Africa have brought to the surface all 260 mine workers who've been stuck for more than a day underground at the Kloaf gold mine. All have been undergoing medical checks, though the mine operator says they were never at risk of injury. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has led the tributes to the Brazilian photographer Sebastião Salgado, who's died of leukemia at the age of 81. Working in black and white, he documented the human condition and the state of the planet, with many of his projects focusing on the dignity of marginalised communities. Speaking in Brasilia, President Lula hailed Salgado's legacy.
A gente ficou sabendo uma notícia muito triste.
Today we have learnt some very sad news. I want to pay tribute to our colleague Sebastião Salgado following his death. Certainly, if not the greatest, one of the greatest and best photographers that the world has ever produced.
Napoli have won the Italian Football League Serie A for the 4th time. In the final round of matches, they beat Cagliari 2-0 in front of their supporters at the Stadio Diego Maradona in Naples. The result confirmed their 1-point advantage over Inter Milan. It's a 5th Italian championship for manager Antonio Conte, who had previously guided Inter to the title. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, amen, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcast live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Austin Harris. And moving right along, we've gone from one fantastic local game as we continue to celebrate Cayman Art Week to Cayman Art Week itself. Our guest in studios, it is a pleasure to receive the creative director for Cayman Art Week, who also has the double duty role of being the director of the National Gallery. Miss Natalie Urquhart is our guest in studios, and she is joined by Miss Mia Mutu, the education manager at the National Gallery. Ladies, good evening and welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you for having us. Great to be here tonight.
Absolute pleasure to have you in studios. We were made aware of Art Week from one of our listeners just during the week. And we had a great opportunity yesterday to chat about it, about some of the events that were being held as we spoke, much like today. And we'll talk about some of them. But Cayman Art Week opened on the 20th of May, runs until the 25th of May. So that's what, this weekend.
Yeah, it's this weekend. We go all the way through to Sunday evening. We have a closing event in Cayman Brac.
Okay.
Because this is a tri-island event with Gordon Solomon's amazing gallery there. But loads going on Sunday. And yeah, we've got lots to talk about.
Indeed. Well, we do have lots to talk about. I read from your website more than 40 events. You have pop-up exhibitions. You've got a hop-on, hop-off bus that takes you to all of the galleries across Cayman. I see today you're hosting something called a digital exhibition. Talk to us about the events that have already taken place, and then we'll get to the ones that are going on live, as well as what's planned for the weekend ahead.
Amazing. Well, this really is truly, as I said, tri-island, multi-district celebration of everything art. We've already had such amazing energy, I think, with the events that we've had. We've had launch events on Tuesday, big event at the National Gallery, who are our organizational partners. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that in just a minute. About 350 artists, venue owners, collectors all coming out to celebrate the artists themselves. And Art Week is really designed to, have no barriers and to be everywhere. So we want everything to be about art this week and, of course, beyond this week. But this is the big chance to celebrate the incredible creative work that our Caymanian artists and all sorts of creatives are doing in Cayman. So it's designed to have a focus on different areas of Cayman. Last night was Core West, so that was the 7 Mile Beach Corridor, some events in West Bay. And again, you mentioned the free buses, and this is what's so great. You can hop on and hop off these shuttles from every participating venue. Tonight we are in Core Central Georgetown. Everybody loves the Georgetown event. We have 17 different creative venues living and breathing in Georgetown. And this is a great chance to get to know them. So tonight we have the buses, but of course we're encouraging people to walk around Georgetown. It is, I've done it for a few years now, and they're walking around in the evening and meeting people on the road who have just come from one venue, and they're telling you about the great art at that venue. There is so much positive energy. And each one of those venues has a reception, so there are refreshments there. The artists will be there. 17 venues tonight, and then we do all of this again tomorrow, Core East. We take buses up all the way to East End. Anarchy Hill and friends are going to be in East End. We've got Carrie Ann Chisholm at Grand Bellas in Northside, and then all the way back to Georgetown. There will be creative venues. Tonight we're also in Cayman Brac. We've got 5 different creative venues. The bus tour is happening now in Cayman Brac. And we have a bike tour going on in Little Cayman right now as well.
Wow.
To 4 venues in Little Cayman, if you can believe it. So there's so much happening.
Absolutely. And that's what I want to talk about. I mean, you've got events, as you just said, going on as we speak. In Cayman Brac, you've got an event that's going to go all the way till 7 o'clock. It started, I think, at 4 o'clock. You've got the Little Cayman Art Tour that continues until 5:30. And you've got events going on in Grand Cayman as well. I mean, some might call that a logistical nightmare. Talk to us about the simultaneous nature of all of these events happening at the same time.
I love that. It's tiring, but we have an amazing team. So we're actually a small volunteer team that put this together, and the idea came out of lockdown when, we didn't have access to a lot of people coming to the island.
Yes.
We rely on the tourism industry to buy art a lot from our creatives, and that can be, when we say art, everything from photography to sculpture to painting to ceramics, and that's what you'll see tonight. But we wanted to make sure from day one, I love spending time in the sister islands. The creative community there are amazing. So it was always really central to our vision to have this as a tri-island event. We chatted today as well. Do we want to spread that out over a few weekends maybe next year for the logistics? But we get to work with Kelly Holdings. We have volunteers in the Brac. We have great volunteers in Little Cayman and such a great core team here. So far, year 5, it's still working well. And we always take evaluations at the end to get better next year.
So this is your 5th year in operation for celebrating Cayman Art Week.
Yeah, 5th year, and we can't believe it. Even in year 1, 2021, it was June, we had about 25 creative venues. And I think you mentioned earlier on the different types of venues. We have the established galleries. Those are people like Kennedy Gallery, Pure Art, Gordon Solomon, Cayman Brac, Jason Kennedy at Camana Bay. galleries that are supporting artists all the way through the year, selling their work all the way through the year, and the stalwarts that we need to support.
Yes.
We have open studios, so you get to go to artist studios that you might not be able to visit throughout the year, and that's some of the most exciting work because that's where the magic happens.
Sure.
And then across the island, we're having special, what we call pop-up exhibitions, and those might be in your favorite coffee shop. I mean, people are going to walk into their normal spaces this week and go, what is happening here?
Right.
And that's artists themselves putting those shows up, or curators, or just the stores themselves wanting to collaborate and support creativity.
Well, what I have noticed is whilst there are a number of events, as we mentioned, happening simultaneously in some cases, but I was impressed by how well attended many of the venues are. In particular, I noted, I think yesterday, just in driving past during your event, I think it was your curator-led tour at the National Gallery. Mia, we'll talk to you about that in a moment. But the amount of cars, if you say, if there are as many people as there are cars, this clearly was a successful event. Talk to us about how it has been received from members of the public.
You know, I think I was just overwhelmed even in year on. I remember in 2021, we all needed some community spirit, right? It was a tough time. We're talking about this developed, and actually developed in my study at home when we were trying to run the National Gallery online, and that was actually a pretty amazing creative time in and of itself. And it was just this idea of bringing people together, but also helping people sell art. Because it's very much a commercial venue. We want people to learn. We want them to buy a print, for $10 or all the way up to the, crazy prices, depending on what your budget is.
Sure.
But it was really amazingly well received as this sort of community outpouring. You know, one of the wonderful stories about this year is that our incredible national hero, Miss Francine Jackson, loves this event.
Yes.
She's been out on the road for 3 nights already, and she was the first person to buy a piece for Cayman Art Week 2025. So it's really a very genuinely multi-generational event. You can bring your kids with you. They can meet the artists in these venues. Going on a bus to different venues as well feels very engaging and accessible. So you can chat with people that you might have never met or might have never met. Literally on the buses, get to know them, and everyone's just sharing the joy of this creativity. And, we're talking about at least 150 artists, if not more, exhibiting across the 3 Cayman Islands, or the 3 islands of Cayman. So there's so much positive, creative energy, and I think it's really infectious. Everyone on the road is really friendly. It's a really, just a great feel-good event.
Yeah, no, indeed. Well, certainly it is exactly that. I think that's a very good description. A feel-good event, but also an opportunity to experience and celebrate local artisans or artisans in general. Whether you're just window shopping, whether you are just exploring, or perhaps even if you find something that really catches you and you have to have it, well, again, you can also purchase at the various events taking place across the Cayman Islands, and that includes the Sister Islands, as we mentioned, events going on right now, both in Little Cayman and in Cayman Brac, and will happen all the way until the 25th, this weekend. For more information on Cayman Art Week, and particularly the event schedule, you can log on to CaymanArtWeek.com. Mia, I want to talk to you about the role of the National Gallery. As I mentioned earlier on, I liked the lunchtime lectures that I think you've been hosting. You hosted one yesterday. You're hosting another one today. Today, I think you are exploring the historic images being shared in the Time Back project. Talk to us about the National Gallery's role, and in particular, some of the lectures and curator-led tours and whatnot that the National Gallery is doing as part of Cayman Art Week.
Of course. So the National Gallery is a lead sponsor for Cayman Art Week, and we're really delighted to come on board again. From the very beginning, the National Gallery has been a very big part of Art Week. And the lunchtime lectures that you mentioned are actually part of our ongoing programming. Okay. So with every exhibition that we do, we have a program of events that comes alongside that in order to build a story around all of the artworks that we have on our walls. And the curators' tours happen usually on a Wednesday in the middle of the day, and you can come in, pop in on your lunch break, have a chat with the curators, and kind of learn a little bit more about the genesis of the shows, the themes that we're looking at, and really dive deeply into the artworks. And we're really delighted to be able to put those on during Art Week as well as part of the Art Week schedule. So it's a great opportunity to come in and really learn and meet curators one-to-one and really talk about these artworks in depth. And as Natalie mentioned, it's really a positive social environment as well, where you're able to meet other art lovers, discuss artworks together, maybe meet some new people. And that's something that we have as an ongoing program, which is really special. The National Gallery, of course, is an art museum and a cultural institution, a national institution. So our remit is a little bit different than Art Week in terms of we're not a commercial space. However, there's so many different ways that artists require support from their communities, the access to resources throughout the year, access to educational opportunities throughout the year, professional development opportunities. And so I think Art Week is a really great, vibrant launch pad for a lot of artists and a really great space in which artists who've been practicing for a long time can maintain their networks and meet new potential collectors. And the National Gallery is really there to kind of support them throughout the year.
Right.
So they're able to really rely on our resources, come to our programming, something like Business of Art, which is one of our ongoing educational programs, which offers professional development opportunities for artists and creatives and any small business owners that are around and looking for support and resources. So
that's terrific. Well, certainly if you are a local artist, perhaps whether you're just starting out or perhaps you've done, maybe, had one or two gallery showings, but want to, sharpen your craft, well, certainly we encourage you to reach out to the National Gallery and take part in some of their educational programs. When we talk about the educational offerings of the National Gallery, obviously dealing and working with local artisans is, I guess, bread and butter. But I suspect the National Gallery also does a number of programs, particularly with the schools and young people, the next generation, maybe finding the next Picasso, for example. Talk to us about that.
Or the next Bendel
I was
Heights.
going to say the next Bendel Heights.
Quite right, indeed.
Oh, Picasso. Yes. Picasso.
Yeah, we have a very holistic and broad educational program. So the interesting thing about the gallery is that it really has its genesis, its core in being this sort of roving educational program before we had a permanent home, a permanent building. And so that's really at the core of what we do at the National Gallery is this education and outreach program. So, a lot of people might think about school tours initially, right? And we do have a very foundational school tour. We really try to involve curricular learning as well to ensure that when students visit the site, they're able to learn things that might be on their syllabus for their coursework. So for example, you might come in, and I always use this example, but for example, mathematics and art. You might not think that the two are related, but actually when exhibition designers and curators are in a space, they really have to think about, okay, I've got 5 artworks. How much space do I need between these artworks? And there's quite a lot of math that goes into designing these shows. You can also look at things like environmental sustainability and some of the stories that these artworks are telling about our relationship to our environment and our landscape. Think about cultural heritage, of course, through these artworks. You can think about geology through these artworks and geometry and all kinds of curricular subjects. So that's really a core part of what we do with the school tours. Of course, we also have opportunities for students to come in and get hands-on, making their own artwork in our studio space as well. We do that with our school tours, but we also do that with our Walker's Art Club after-school program. And that's a very long-running program, very kindly sponsored by Walker's for many, many years. And that program runs from age 5 all the way up through 17. And that's really for students to be learning technical art skills, but also meeting new friends. There are students from pretty much every school across the islands, from all abilities as well. It's a fully accessible program. We work really closely with Inclusion Cayman on that program as well to ensure that all students have access. And so that's a Walker's Art Club program. We also have many different adult programs as well, adult workshops and lessons throughout the year. I mentioned Business of Art.
Yes.
We also have a really thriving outreach program where we work with people in the community who might be part of vulnerable communities or are facing challenges in their life. For example, we have a program called Art Haven, which is sponsored by a very lovely couple who have been sponsoring the program for many, many years. And that program operates in Northward, in Fairbanks, and at Caribbean Haven as well, taught by Joseph Betty, who's great and been instructing the program, again, for many, many years now. So it's really about cultivating a space where every cross-section of our community has access to some kind of resource and the benefits that the arts can give for everybody.
Sure, indeed. Well, your agenda is excitement-packed, and to the point that you were making earlier on, whilst Cayman Art Week only lasts a week, you will, 5-6 days, but definitely room to expand it, maybe over 2 weekends, because there is certainly the activity going on, and it seems to me that as quickly as it started, it's over already, but that's all right. gives you that anticipation for next year. Natalie, I want to talk about some of the events in particular, the events that are going on tonight. I know we have a digital exhibition, I believe, going on at Cayman Enterprise City. It started at 4 o'clock and runs until 9. But one that really caught my eye is an event that started, I think, 22 minutes ago, if they were on time, that opened at the National Museum, looking at self-taught artists. Talk to us about those two events going on tonight, as well as some of the events that our listeners can perhaps start thinking about now as they begin to plan their weekend.
Absolutely, and those are happening within this multi-bus tour again this evening. So we'll start with Cayman Enterprise City because they're happening right now. They are focusing on digital art, which is really exciting. They've already done some collaborations with the National Gallery on different panels, talking about how art is evolving. They're looking at AI, they're looking at digital, both in terms of people like Michael Mothen, who's this really amazing young Caymanian educator by day, and digital artist by night and on weekends. Doing some incredible, I think, revisioning of cultural heritage scenes, but in this very, very dynamic contemporary way. So he's using his work to teach about history and, pastimes that may be disappearing rapidly, but in something that's very accessible to the younger generation. So he's going to be on a panel tonight at 6 p.m. with William Helfrich, our colleague from the National Gallery. He's going to be moderating that panel. And then there are another couple of digital artists working in completely different ways. So AI, Caitlin Elphinstone, who's actually helping curate this entire program at CEC, is an amazing artist working with AI, again, to revisit photographs from our cultural history in Cayman, sort of 100-year-old photographs that she's using AI to kind of blend and change so we can recognize the history, but she's speaking to the fact that things are changing so rapidly we don't even recognize them, and the trauma and the challenges that we're trying to navigate with that. So that's happening at Cayman Enterprise City. They're going to be refreshments, I think some music as well. And then on the other side, we're looking at intuitive art and handmade art at the museum. So they're revisiting their national collection. So, of course, the National Gallery is responsible for owning part of the national collection for the people of the Cayman Islands. So is the National Museum. We've actually loaned works to their exhibition, which we're really excited to collaborate with them on. And we haven't seen the show either, so we're going to go down and check it out after this.
All right.
So they're looking at people like Miss Lassie, and of course you can go and visit Miss Lassie's cottage with the Cultural Foundation tomorrow on our Eastern tours, or again, self-driving. But they're also looking at artists like Dreddy, who's a really contemporary artist.
Yes.
Charles Long, that might be inspired by the sort of popular style of an artist like Miss Lassie. Around that, though, there are 15 other venues that are all participating this evening. So if you come out to Central Georgetown, you can kick off at Cardinal Avenue, find us at our hub. We'll give you a map, we'll give you directions, and you literally can use the buses or walk to so many different venues that are, I think, exhibiting everything from incredible sculpture. There's going to be sculpture demonstrations at Nagara Gallery. There are demonstrations on everything from, there's going to be dance. Our latest event tonight is Mutiny, which everyone knows is Hyde & Sons Archive Lane. They've got a big intervention down there doing some amazing stuff with street art and fashion, and they've got a big thing kicking off at 9 p.m. Cricket Square are doing a intervention into their gardens with artists. So every site will be completely different. It's all completely free. Everybody is welcome to come down. And again, you can drive yourself to these venues. You can take the bus, meet people on the buses, or you can walk, because this is Central Georgetown, and we don't do that enough in Central Georgetown.
Indeed. Well, we got a question from our listening audience this evening. It says, hi, good evening to you and your guest. Fantastic discussion. And yes, I want to congratulate both the National Gallery and Cayman Art Week and all their volunteers for obviously putting on a fantastic event. I'm an artist myself. How can I display my art the next time around as part of Cayman Art Week?
So it's such a great question. We get this a lot. And Cayman Art Week, what we bring to the table, we're a kind of the structure of the whole week. We have an amazing website where it's the only place in Cayman you can find all of these venues all year, from locations to phone numbers to what type of art they do. And we put that together because we couldn't find that information ourselves as people from the National Gallery. So come out, give us a call on give us an email, info@National Gallery, and we can meet up with you, talk you through that. There are always venues that put out open calls in advance of Art Week to say we're looking for artists, and we can help pair you with the most appropriate venue and just help you with some career development in that too. jump on the website. There is a facts page that gives you a bit more information, but we're always here to respond to that email. Maybe give us 24 hours right now because there's so much going on, but we will be back in touch next week. But thanks for your enthusiasm, and come out and meet some of the artists that are exhibiting this year too.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, I want to thank you both for taking the opportunity to be with us. Mia, an opportunity. We got about a minute and 30 left. Very quick final last words.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to quickly add to what Natalie said. If you are looking for an opportunity that's coming up quite quickly, actually, we have the open call through the National Gallery for the 4th Cayman Islands Biennial, which is a huge contemporary art show. It's, again, tri-island, multi-venue. So if you are looking to submit a proposal for that, it's still open for the next couple days. So do visit our website, nationalgallery.org.ky, if you are an artist and you're looking to submit a proposal for that exhibition.
All right, fantastic. Well, it is Cayman Art Week here in the Cayman Islands, all 3 of our islands. A number of events taking place tonight and a few more events taking place tomorrow as Cayman Art Week heads east. For more details on the events, the times, the locations, you can simply log on to caymanartweek.com and check it out for yourselves. Hopefully you can have an opportunity to take in some of the sights and sounds tonight as well as into tomorrow. But ladies, again, thank you so very much. I love your enthusiasm. I love the work of the National Gallery and the volunteers of Cayman Art Week. And yes, next year, definitely a 2-week venue.
Okay.
For certain, all right?
I'll get my energy going in advance of that.
All right, terrific. We're going to pause, take a short commercial break, but there'll be more Straight Talk coming up next right here on Bobo FM.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
The Cayman Turtle Center's Turtle Crawl 5K is back, Sunday, June 8th, starting from the Cayman Turtle Center at 6:30 a.m. Registration is $25 CI and includes a race shirt and a goodie bag. All funds raised will support conservation of green sea turtles in the Cayman Islands. Corporate discounts are available by emailing info@turtle.ky. Register now for the Turtle Crawl 5K at turtlecrawl.ky. Proudly sponsored by Stingray Media, Double M Distribution, Health City, and Gatorade.
Visit Healthcare Pharmacy's second location in Governor Square, servicing West Bay and the 7 Mile Beach Corridor with a care and professionalism you have come to expect from Healthcare Pharmacy. Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square also stocks a huge selection of Hallmark and shoebox greeting cards, vitamins, sunblock, last minute, and everyday needs. To refill and transfer your prescriptions, simply WhatsApp 329-7313 or visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or drop by Monday to Saturday from 9 till 6.
With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. Home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at caymanwater.com.
At Priced Right, spending less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on office supplies, tools, and automotive products.
Spend less on groceries, fresh produce, and meat.
Spend less on electronics, TVs, and speakers.
Spend less on home furnishings, beauty products, and apparel.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live better for less.
To start saving, visit us at the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
For more info, visit pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
Have your engine driving like never before with Pure 93, the highest pure octane fuel in Cayman and available exclusively at Rubis service stations. Pure 93 protects against engine knock, restores lost power and acceleration, cleans fuel injectors, intake valves, removes engine deposits, improves your fuel economy, and it meets international specification requirements for your car. Fill up with Pure 93 now and keep your engine running like new. Fuel the difference with Pure 93, available exclusively at Rubis.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We're your hosts, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon. Welcome back. Welcome back. Austin, I got to just tell you, I'm sitting there looking at you and I'm saying, damn, my partner's good. What a guy knows how to host.
Well, it helps when we have two, if not three, fantastic guests as we have.
Yeah, they're not
hour of the show.
They're not short in knowledge or the ability to talk.
No, not at all. Natalie Urquhart, obviously Mia Mutu, just the last guest there celebrating Cayman Week. Fantastic ladies, terrific guests, obviously very knowledgeable. And obviously you can tell art is, their passion and their love, not just individually, but certainly grateful to the National Gallery for the important work that it does and giving exposure and educational opportunities to Caymanian artisans, but also to Natalie Urquhart and Cayman Art Week for making it a community event. So it's not just exclusively Caymanians. Anyone who lives in Cayman, if you like or appreciate or want to appreciate art, again, Cayman Art Week is a fantastic sort of introduction, if you will, to the art that is available in the Cayman Islands.
Well, again, thanks to a mic shortage, I had the opportunity to sit in the corner there and just listen, and it was a great interview.
I do apologize about that, and certainly to the listening audience. They will know, especially if you've a regular listener to the program, normally having two guests in studios isn't a problem for us. We just simply add a fourth mic and off we go. But for whatever reason, there were a few challenges in acquiring that fourth mic this time. So we had to make a decision. It was a coin flip, really. Who should host, Ellio or myself? Why make it difficult? Just flip a coin, and well, I won the coin toss. Coin toss.
First day with my new mouth.
It is the first day with my new lips. Forgive me. I'm just still getting used to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if they're the right size. But the phone lines are now open, 745-2626, or should I say the phone lines are open again?
Soon. I don't want to open them yet. I do want us to listen to something. I sent it to you.
Yes.
So I want person to really listen to this. We talked about it yesterday on the program, where it's a matter of government making some changes in relation to, how do you put it? The rollover position in government.
Yes. Yesterday you heard it first from us here at Straight Talk, fresh off the government press release from their government website. Cabinet approved on Wednesday the term limits for the civil service. So the similar rollover policy that has been in existence in the private sector for many a moon has now been approved by Cabinet to also be applicable to the civil service, with an anticipated commencement date of January of next year.
In January 2026.
Indeed. So we have a little sound clip.
And there's an additional piece now, and I want persons to listen to this because it puts a smile on my face.
I know it
when Mr. Manderson is going to mention, so listen for it, jobs for Caymanians only being defined within the civil service. As persons would know, this was something that I was
Good evening, fellow Caymanians and residents. Today, the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson, and I would like to provide an update to the country concerning an important cabinet decision made yesterday. My cabinet colleagues and I approved draft and instructions to introduce for the first time in Cayman's history immigration term limits for non-Caymanians working within the civil service. This follows extensive consultation, statistical, and policy analysis previously conducted by the Deputy Governor's Office, as well as a portfolio of the civil service. It's envisioned that these changes will be implemented by 1 January 2026 and reflects the initial steps of our government, the National Coalition for Caymanians, aim to reform immigration policy in this country.
Premier, thank you very much, and to you and your government for your collaborative approach in getting us here, as you said, to this historic day in our beloved Cayman Islands. We believe that term limits being introduced in the civil service in itself will not automatically translate to more Caymanians joining the civil service or the upward mobility for Caymanians in the civil service. Therefore, what we have recommended to the government, and they have accepted, is an enhanced term limit policy that we believe, once implemented, will achieve more jobs for Caymanians and upward mobility for Caymanians in the civil service. I am proud that we, the civil service, is the largest employer of Caymanians. However, we will not rest on that fact, and we will continue to do whatever is necessary to ensure that the people of the Cayman Islands who wish to join the civil service do so, and those persons who deserve promotions within the civil service will achieve those promotions. So what have we done? We have increased the break that is set out in the Immigration Transition Act of 1 year, where a person who reaches the end of their term limit will have to leave the island for 1 year. In the civil service, we will increase that to 2 years. Also, we will ensure that we set out very clearly the jobs that are available for Caymanians only. That would be an historic first step in our public service management law, where we designate certain jobs that can only be held by our people. Additionally, we will strengthen the provisions to ensure that persons who are employed in the private sector, non-Caymanians in the private sector, are not able to join the civil service to avoid the term limits. Also, we will require non-Caymanians in the civil service as part of their contract to train Caymanians. We believe these enhancements to the term limit policy will achieve better outcomes for the people of the Cayman Islands.
Thank you, DG. As you can see with the proposed enhancement, our government is going to work at every stage, whether it's this policy or future policies, in lockstep with the civil service and key stakeholders to ensure that what is produced are changes that secure the future for our Caymanians, while at the same time reducing major risk of service disruption with respect to key essential public services. It is with that aim and that partnership where we can deliver real results and move campaign words into action.
Thank you, Premier. In the civil service, there are 4,800 employees. Of those, 1,400 approximately are non-Caymanians. The majority of non-Caymanians are employed in the police, in the prison, at the Department of Children and Family Services, in our care homes, and by the Department of Educational Services. I want to thank those non-Caymanians in those agencies and across the civil service for the jobs that they do to ensure the success of our beloved Cayman Islands. However, we want to ensure that the term limit policy that we are implementing does not disrupt our services, that we are able to provide the essential services that are not available anywhere else in the Cayman Islands to our people and to the government. We have an overriding responsibility in the civil service to work hard every day to make lives better. And we believe the policy that we have just explained to you will achieve just that.
Thank you, Deputy Governor. Also thank Her Excellency, the Governor, and all of your staff, and all of my colleagues in the National Coalition for Caymanians, There will be more announcements to come. We expect in the days ahead that there will be announcements from Minister Michael Miles with respect to proposed reforms for immigration reform in the private sector. And again, we will seek to strike a balance at the same time securing the future for Caymanians. God bless those who are listening, and may God bless the Cayman Islands. God bless.
And there you go. You heard it first again here on Straight Talk, a message from our Honorable Premier, Honorable Andre Ebanks, and the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson. A lot to say there. Certainly a terrific announcement, as we mentioned yesterday, term limits applying to both the civil service, as it now has for the private sector, but perhaps even more exciting, Ellio, the jobs for Caymanians only. This was a proposal you first put on the table
2013.
Many moons ago. It just goes to show the wheels may move a little slowly, but it wasn't lost on those in power. Obviously, you must be excited.
Yeah, I mean, it is something great. First of all, again, as you've just mentioned, to the Deputy Governor, again, particularly the Premier, the Deputy Premier, and the rest of the government, kudos to them. I think they're on the ground. They've made something very instrumental there in terms of saying we are going to have the same rules applying first and foremost to the civil service that applies to the private sector. And that sort of equity and fairness, I think, just in itself is really good, because the public sector has become one of those places that many persons in the private sector were trying to escape, get in there, and again, get past this whole issue of the rollover and get the citizenship and stuff as well. And we're talking about, in addition to that, Mr. Manderson talked about the issue of ensuring that there's going to be that training for Caymanians. And of course, yes, like music to my ear, it was good to hear that term, job for Caymanians only, clearly being able to identify what specific jobs in the civil service will be earmarked for Caymanians only. That was something that I talked about from 2013, made an amendment to the immigration law. And he also talked about the Minister Michael Miles, responsible for labor, is going to be making some announcements very soon in relation to the private sector. No, I am super excited about that, Mr. Harris, and hoping that it has some mirroring of what has just taken place in the government, particularly as it relates to jobs for Caymanians only.
Yes, no, absolutely. It is very exciting and without a doubt long overdue. Excited to see the government, obviously, once again leading by example in designating jobs for Caymanians only. And certainly to the words of the Premier and the Deputy Governor, we have something to look forward to from the Minister of Labor, the Honorable Michael Miles, who undoubtedly will share further information as it relates to either these plans or some of the ongoing reforms that we can anticipate from the National Coalition for Caymanians. Again, it certainly is good to hear. It's very, very encouraging to hear. Now, I don't want to necessarily throw any cold water on the term limits, and we are just now learning about what it will involve. But one of the questions I obviously have on the term limits, the Deputy Governor and the Premier just stated that the term limit policy for non-Caymanians working within the service will begin for both those who are already employed as well as those who will become new hires as of the 1st of January next year. Now, what concerns me is, and again, we still have to have these questions answered, but if you think of some of those foreign workers who work for the civil service now, who may be already on year 6 or 7, the government obviously does not have any rollover policy at all, so there's no requirement for any of these persons to leave. But if there is going to be term limits, and it will be possibly to mimic or mirror that which is in the private sector, either 8 or 9 years before they are rolled over, so to speak, for those persons who have already been working 5 or 6 years, undoubtedly they will have acquired the length of tenure that would qualify them should they wish to apply for Caymanian status and naturalization. I don't know how many will take it at permanent residence. I don't know how many will take advantage of this. Maybe the government perhaps has already received some indication of those foreign nationals working in the civil service in terms of what are their future plans, or what would they like to do with their life? Do they want to become citizens, or do they just want to work out their term and then go back to their, home destinations or jurisdictions? But what concerns me is now, with the rollover policy being implemented, forewarning being given to those foreign workers, will those foreign workers simply seek to apply for permanent residency and then, as they say, the road towards Caymanian citizenship, therefore perhaps making this announcement sort of null and void for a large percentage of those, especially when we look at the rate in which PR is already being granted. We looked at it a few weeks ago. I think in the media it reported 2/3 of all of those persons who apply for permanent residency get approved. And that's in the private sector. Arguably, those within the public sector are professionals. They have demonstrated skills and academic backgrounds, and clearly might be considered essential. So the likelihood of those persons achieving success, should they wish to apply, in my mind, is high. And therefore, it brings in the question, to what extent will this term limit play in terms of government overall personnel numbers? But again, not wanting to throw cold water. It's just a question I'm throwing out there.
No, and again, I think it's a very valid point that you raised. We share the same concern. I mentioned, I think, briefly, a similar concern yesterday. We would want to get clarity in relation to, exactly what are you saying? Are you saying that on 1 January 2025, it's going to be a case that it starts over fresh? So to use your example, is this a situation where the person already has been here 8 years or 7 years or 8 years and may have already been in the process of possibly applying for permanent residency? Is it a matter that he or she gets to go now another 8 years on 1st of January 2026? Or is it a case that it's capped now and you have until 1st of January 2026 to go ahead and do whatever you have to do? Those are some little clarification I think that we need.
Yes.
We can probably see if we can get some submissions of questions and get those answered. But I'd like to say this on a positive, to again look at it on the positive side. Even if that was the case, one would imagine that these 1,400 plus persons that are there on as foreign nationals, if you like, within the service, that a percentage, not all, but a percentage of them would be allowed to get permanent residency. And that in addition to that, at the minimum, what we will definitely have going forward in the future is a totally different civil service as it relates to identifying clearly jobs that are identified for Caymanians. And then in addition to that, they are now on a rollover policy that mirrors somewhat what's happening in the private sector. And that's still a good thing, even if it's a bit of a time before you get to that point.
Yes, no, absolutely.
In terms of the specifics of people being there.
Yes. No, I thoroughly agree with you. Certainly our listeners, if you perhaps remember our discussion, I think it was back in March, where we had Mr. Mario Ebanks as our guest in studio when we were discussing the Immigration Transition Act 2022 white paper. And amongst the number of immigration reforms recommended in that document also included the suggestion or recommendation that these term limits would, in fact, be featured as part of that ongoing immigration reform. So I think the indication by the government, and in particular the Honorable Premier, just today, and of course the press release that came out yesterday, clearly suggests that immigration white paper will form part of the discussions going forward, and immigration reform. We can expect to see some aspects of that white paper being put forward by the new National Coalition for Caymanians. Again, that white paper called for a great many things, not least of which include changing the name of the law from the Immigration Transition Act back to the Caymanian Protection Act. And by all indication, I mean, if you consider what has been proposed, term limits for non-Caymanian civil servants, jobs for Caymanians only in the private sector, which we again will hear more from Minister Michael Miles. But very clearly it indicates that the Immigration Act, as it currently is defined today, is quickly becoming the Caymanian Protection Act all over again. So the government seems to be heading in that direction anyway.
Yeah, and I definitely want to, like I said, give them accolades. I'm sure there'll come a point that we won't be in agreement. So definitely want to take advantage of when you're seeing any government, and in this particular case, this government doing something right. And like I said, music to my ears to be able to hear that you're talking about a similar rollover structure that's happening in the private sector. I think that alone should be sending to Caymanians a message that, wow, equity, there's some equality happening in terms of private versus public sector, because the public sector has always been allowed to operate in some kind of a little bubble somewhere. And I think that's a step in the right direction. Interesting that they've made it 2 years. Again, I want to think about that some more.
Yes.
What are we trying to achieve there? But, off the top of our head, it doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Well, it doesn't sound like a bad idea. And I'd certainly, if the government were to match this new policy with Caymanian succession planning, particularly within the civil service, we've got, give or take, 7-8 months before the end of this year. Certainly, if they use that time wisely, and of course, the time after January 2026, if we identify Caymanians who perhaps may be apprenticing or could apprentice under some of these senior non-Caymanian civil servants, then certainly it could be an opportunity to develop Caymanian talent within the civil service and enable many of them to have greater, career upward mobility, advancement. So I would very much like that. And certainly if that is the case, then again, the 2-year break in between will only allow that Caymanian potentially, if they follow this route, to further develop in their role and also create more opportunities for those who come behind them.
Yeah.
So I think it is all very encouraging. The jobs for Caymanians only, the term limits for civil servants in the civil service as it has been in the private sector. And again, the only question or fear or concern that we have, and this may very well go away as the government offers greater clarity on this proposal, but there is the potential for mass PR grants within the civil service, sort of mimicking the mass status grants that took place many, many moons ago. And if that happens, then it certainly pours a bit of cold water on the proposal, but it is yet to be clarified on that position.
Yeah, and again, I would just hope that at the minimum we would look at terms of the strategy, the process going forward at the end of the day would have changed, and that, again, helps to make the world a better place. But you're absolutely right. We need to get clarity on that. I am looking forward to hearing what the minister responsible for labor is going to come forward with specifically as it relates to the private sector. But again, I want to thank the government, again, specifically the Premier, Deputy Premier, all of his members of the government for what I'm actually seeing right now that's happening in the civil service. It's an emotional moment for me. I feel good 11 years later. Just to hear those words, jobs for Caymanians only, I think it is something that has been long overdue. And if we can get that both in the public and the private sector, God bless them. I think we've made a real leap forward for the people of this country.
No, absolutely. And, we are seeing a leveling of the playing field, if you will, for both what exists in the private sector now applying to the public sector. I think it is a step in the right direction. And, I really have to applaud the new government. These are some of the actions that are taking place within their first 100 days in office. And by all indications, they're off to coalition style of government. Would we experience, again, perhaps a rerun of what took place the previous 4 years? So far, the government, having only had its first caucus and cabinet meeting this week, seemed to be singing from the same hymn book. And obviously, we will have an idea what that hymn book will include when the government publishes or decides in the parliament its strategic policy statement, which we can anticipate will happen over the course of the next few months.
And I want to say two things as well. I mean, one, I guess we can look for, on the whole issue of what we can look forward to from Minister Miles, again, we might be seeing something similar change in the private sector in terms of that break.
Possibly.
Maybe it's not going to be a 1-year break. Maybe it's going to mirror the two-year break as well. But, I want to take again the opportunity to give kudos to the government, because I have been out of office for quite some time. And I know, unfortunately, the sad situation, you and I have talked about victimization that takes place. We talk about the pride and the egos that go on. And again, just hearing the utterances of those words and not even changing it from Jobs for Caymanians only, I think speaks volumes that you have persons that are willing to go forward with something. And it's not a pride issue. It's about just putting Caymanians first. And again, my hat's off to the government. So kudos to them. And hopefully all of us as Caymanians feel like it's a little bit of a better day.
Indeed. Well, I note from today's Cayman Compass that there was an anonymous letter sent to the government, arguably perhaps from a senior, I think, what is it? Shortly after the proposed changes were announced, a self-described Caymanian senior member of the civil service wrote an anonymous letter to Governor Owen and the deputy governor, and of course copied that letter to the media outlets, basically urging them to rethink this new policy, which again was just announced on Wednesday, as we shared details with you yesterday. When we come back, we will share with you the contents of that letter from a senior Caymanian civil servant, as well as obviously open up the phone lines and get some feedback from you, the listening audience. Huh?
Sounded like another first.
It sounds
you
like
heard it here first?
It's how you heard it here first. That's right. Keep it locked. 745-2626 is the number. There'll be more Straight Talk still to come right here on Bobo 103.1 FM.
Bobo.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation. OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News. World news from the BBC.
Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive winds.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat. Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here.
More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest-standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The European Trade Commissioner, Maroš Šefčovič, has said the EU stands prepared to defend its interests after President Trump said he would raise import taxes on all goods from the bloc to 50%. Mr. Šefčovič said the EU remained ready to negotiate on the basis of mutual respect. Nick Beak is in Brussels.
Is this President Trump, a few hours before a conversation between Maroš Šefčovič, who's the EU's trade commissioner? He'll be talking to his counterpart. Is this President Trump getting in first with this maximalist position, saying the trade talks are going nowhere, and so as a consequence, I recommend that 50% tariffs be applied to Europe very, very soon? I think a lot of companies, particularly in the automobile sector, will be looking at this really, really carefully and with some concern if this is a threat which will be carried through.
A French court has given prison sentences of up to 3 years to members of a gang that robbed the American star Kim Kardashian at a hotel in Paris in 2016. She was held at gunpoint and tied up while millions of dollars worth of jewellery were stolen. Hugh Schofield is in Paris.
Omar Kadash, the ringleader who held Kim Kardashian at gunpoint in her hotel room, was given 3 years in jail. The rest of the participants in the robbery were given 2 years. Because the culprits all spent time in custody after their arrests 8 years ago, it means that none of them will return to prison. The president of the court said the sentences that the jury had decided on were lenient. The jurors appear to have taken into account the advanced age and frailty of many of those convicted, and the fact that in court, Kim Kardashian herself extended her pardon to those who said they regretted what they'd done.
An official from Gaza's Civil Defense Agency has said at least 71 people were killed in the territory on Friday as the Israeli military continued its intense bombardment. Children are reported to be among those killed in an attack on Khan Yunis. The UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, said Gaza was enduring what may be the cruelest phase of the war.
4/5 of the territory of Gaza is a no-go zone for the people of Gaza. Without rapid, reliable, safe and sustained aid access, more people will die, and the long-term consequences on the entire population will be profound.
There's been a mass stabbing attack at the main train station in the German city of Hamburg. The fire service said 12 people had been hurt. Police say they've arrested the suspected perpetrator, a 39-year-old woman. They say they believe she was acting alone and that there's no evidence of a political motive. World News from the BBC. The US Justice Department says it's reached an agreement in principle with the aircraft manufacturer Boeing over 2 fatal accidents involving its 737 MAX planes. Boeing will pay more than $1.1 billion in fines and compensation and avoid prosecution from misleading regulators over the safety of its flight control system. That's been blamed for crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia, in which 346 people died. The former president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph Kabila, has accused the current government of being a dictatorship, a day after the Senate lifted his immunity from prosecution. The move leaves him open to charges of war crimes and treason over his alleged links to Rwandan-backed M23 rebels in the east of the DRC. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has led the tributes to the Brazilian photographer Sebastião Salgado, who has died of leukemia at the age of 81. Working in black and white, he documented the human condition and the state of the planet, with many of his projects focusing on the dignity of marginalised communities. Neil Burgess, Salgado's longtime agent, told the BBC his work had left an indelible mark in the world.
Salgado was a brilliant image maker and he was a fantastic storyteller. But the way that he concentrated on his ideas, the way that he researched his ideas, and the way he put together not just a single image, but a whole essay, a whole book, a whole exhibition, which would inform the viewer of some of the most important issues of our time.
Napoli have won the Italian Football League Serie A for the 4th time. They beat Cagliari 2-0 in front of their supporters at the Stadio Diego Maradona in Naples. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM on your radio dial, as we continue also to simulcast live over YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, 7 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock, giving us about 23 minutes before we have to sign off for yet again another week. The phone lines are open at 745-2626, or you can reach out to us via our WhatsApp number by dialing 928-25
Yeah, 2562.
2562.
Like it's only my number,
It's
Mr.
only my
Harris.
number, and I only say the number like a half a dozen times per show, but again, the
Imagine
brain
you
is just-
flogged me when I didn't know the number.
I know, right? It's my own number, and I forgot what it was.
that is a good humor for the day, buddy.
Yeah, that's a moment, yes.
Yeah,
Having a little gray moment.
You could
there
say
for
what
you.
one of my brothers would say. Sorry, Ellio, I don't call myself.
That's right. I don't normally call myself, so I don't really remember the number. But prior to the break, obviously discussing the new term limit policy that will be implemented on the 1st of January 2026 for the civil service, offering a bit of a leveling of the playing field, if you will, for that same policy, which has existed in the private sector for many, many moons. Obviously, congratulating the government, the National Coalition for Caymanians, for this action and decision, which was taken just this week. And, of course, an opportunity to hear directly from the Honorable Premier, Andre Ebanks, and the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson, just moments ago. The phone lines are open, 745-2626. Just before we go to the phone lines, though, we talked during the last segment, just before the break, that on Thursday evening, a self-described Caymanian senior member of the civil service wrote an anonymous letter to both Her Excellency Governor Jane Owen and the Deputy Governor Franz Manderson, which was copied to media outlets, urging the government to rethink the new policy. The letter reads, and I quote, "While the policy intention to prioritize Caymanians in public service is understandable, its implementation risks undermining the very systems we've worked so hard to build. The civil service relies on expatriates, not just as fillers in roles, but as professionals who bring unique skills and expertise that are simply not available within our local talent pool at the moment. Expats have dedicated years to serving our community, and their contributions have been critical in ensuring the smooth operation of essential services from healthcare to education and law enforcement. And now we risk losing decades of that hard-earned experience that would leave the public sector with a massive gap." So not everybody is head over heels over the notion, and certainly I think the writer makes a valid point. You know, if we don't replace these otherwise departing civil servants with qualified and certainly capable Caymanians who can continue that work, then maybe there will be gaps. But which is why I say that it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. Certainly the government have the remainder of this year and arguably 8 years following January next year to develop that apprenticeship training program so that, you know, in the first instance, we can identify those civil servants who will not be seeking to follow the roadmap to being Caymanian approach, identify obviously available and willing Caymanians who could otherwise apprentice under these foreign working civil servants that could then replace those persons after their tenure expires. The same thing, arguably, that the private sector should have been doing, were encouraged when the term limits itself was first introduced and rolled out in the private sector, but arguably not done. Again, kudos to the government for leading by example. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Again, you know, let me give the example of you having a business. If you have a business, Mr. Harris, and you don't have certain, you know, resources in-house, as we call it, within your business itself, you've got to go outside and get someone. You have to outsource it. Well, you can either decide that you want to constantly and continually outsource it, or that somehow you're going to get yourself trained up. But it's going to be a very simple answer. If you're going to keep it outsourced, you got to understand, you that company loses, you lose right away. Yeah. And the fact that you're building your entire country, and in this case, the government, that you must depend on a foreign worker, should be telling you that we have a problem.
No, absolutely.
Okay? So you clearly want to give some kind of an impetus, something that motivates you to get your Caymanians in there and get them trained up.
No, I agree 100%. And, you know, you and I both know this for a fact. We've both worked within government. We've both worked at the ministry level. We both have worked with many qualified and deserving Caymanians and non-Caymanians alike. The civil service is filled with both, everyone working towards the common goal, perhaps more so in the public sector than perhaps, what we might see in the private sector. But yes, there's nothing wrong with creating opportunities for the next generation of Caymanian. There's nothing wrong with offering career opportunities that break free of the glass ceiling, particularly for Caymanians. And as I said, when the term limit policy was introduced first in the private sector, it came with the expectation that companies would create that apprenticeship program, that they would be able to identify Caymanians within their organizations that could legitimately replace those foreign workers that have reached their term limit policy, thereby ensuring that there is no gap, ensuring that there is business continuity. But to your point, certainly the objective in the Cayman Islands, and again, I feel as if every time we discuss it in the Cayman Islands, we have to explain it in its totality. But when Make America Great Again,
doesn't have to be justified.
Or when Keir Starmer's talking about rolling out significant immigration reforms to protect Britons or, English persons, nobody bats an eye. Nobody, questions and think, well, it completely makes perfect sense. It's fair.
Yeah.
But when the Cayman Islands say, well, hang on, we want to see the same expectations for our people to rise to the very best that they can do, then all of a sudden we become xenophobic and racist.
Yeah, and let me just give you another example of what you just said to help highlight really what the problem is. If white America said that, no problem. If the white UK said that, no problem. But if black Africa was saying the exact same thing America was saying right now, we would have an issue with it. Yeah. It's a sad scenario, and I hate to bring it down to that, but that's the kind of crab mentality, unfortunately, you have. It is a situation that surely we have to be able to look objectively and say, what do I want for Cayman? What do I want for my family unit? Let me just stress, a good, healthy, strong family unit builds a strong community. A strong community builds a strong country, okay? So let's take it down to the same family unit. If you are telling me that you and your family is going to have to operate and you can only operate if you have X amount of foreign nationals in it, I'm going to just say to you, you're having some challenges.
Absolutely.
And you really need to get it resolved.
Indeed. 745-2626 is the number, or you can reach out to us on our WhatsApp number. Looks like we do have a caller on the line. Let's see if we can go to that call first. Good evening, caller. You're on the air.
So let's take it down. Let me pause this. Hold on. Austin, Ellio, good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dominic Ebanks here. Hope all is well, gentlemen.
Good to hear from you.
Doing very well, Dominic. Thank you for your call.
My delay on this computer must be real behind.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, I guess we heard some good news today, I guess you couldn't call it.
I think so.
I think so. I've been advocating for this way before this election, for many years, many elections, and I've been pressing, on individual MPs behind the scene as well for this, and many of them had sat down and talked, and obviously we see some action happening. I hope that they also, I'm not hoping, I know, because I've also heard that with the grapevine, that they're probably going to be addressing the same thing that us three gentlemen have been advocating for, which is to get a pair somewhere here in the Cayman Islands. So
okay.
I am looking forward to that. I'm not saying they're going to make any big announcement tomorrow on that one, but obviously some people within there obviously have the same sort of hopes that we have, that we can get a pair at it, and hoping maybe not for the Georgetown area, but let's just put it straight down on our west night to the Turtle Farm and feed the ship straight in there. Obviously, there's a lot of statistics coming in about what tourism is going to look like for next year. I think when Port Authority releases their next schedule, it's probably going to be a big decline, obviously. And for those few ships that are coming in, obviously the port will be, or the pier will be more designed for cargo probably, if you're going to have less cruise ships. But for those few ships that we get, I hope they can direct them straight to the Turtle Farm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a lose for taxes. A lot of people believe that, but I think if you can get those passengers off quickly as possible into the Turtle Farm, get the Turtle Farm, makes its revenue, the Turtle Farm can then liaise with a lot of other local boat owners who don't get that opportunity from the hotels, can hopefully get some opportunity from the Turtle Farm to be able to say, hey, we have excursion tours on whether you're going to Stingray City or you're going Starfish Point or wherever. And the turtle farm is your point to get the business from going forward, as well as the turtle farm, like I say, getting the lion's share of it to make sure that they can not just maintain the facility from an attraction standpoint, but I was hoping one day I would see those big giant breeding turtles finally actually swimming around the entire turtle farm, that we extend the pond for them. And our breeding turtles that we use for consumption, that we can even expand on top of that area as well, because there's always the shortage about getting the turtle meat and so forth. There's little areas, but, for me, it was always a big thing for the pier to be sort of somehow linked to the turtle farm. There's been a lot of talk about putting it on the point of Norwest Point in West Bay out there by the beach, or bringing it right around the corner and making it come right into the turtle farm. But again, no matter where you put it, I don't think any place deserves it more than the turtle farm, in my opinion. So I hope that, when that does get announced or whatever idea they're going to come up with, that would be one of the locations, but we'll actually have a pier. And then, if that is a successful, you can use it as a trial if you want to, and move on to pier number 2, hopefully by the, next election or the next. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say, but the news was good news, I must say. Hopefully we'll see action being taken, and we'll be able to see the ripple effect from that trickling down as many of our young Caymanians, come back from being educated and finding themselves in numerous positions, and hopefully many of them, especially in the medical practice, will be able to open up their own practitioners and do what they got to do as well.
Well, thank you for all of your campaigning and pushing as well, your advocacy, because again, all of us doing it together, it makes a difference, and clearly has made a difference. We're here.
It has, and I can tell you that because I just don't speak to some people that I get up on a platform. When I speak to those opposition, I speak to other people, and I have respect for all of them. Our current premier, I have a lot of respect for this man as well. I know him personally, and I know he's a good and honest person, and he's always been saying these are things that he look forward to doing as well. He finally got the opportunity, and he isn't wasting any time, looks like, in action in him.
Sounds like it.
A good thing. It sounds like it, and we hope he continue on that, but we remind him not to forget us, that we do need a pier, not a massive one, but we do need to start somewhere, and, remind him that the tourism sector is still out here, and let's not let it die. Let's keep it alive and keep it going. Absolutely. But gentlemen, I want to wish you both a wonderful weekend, a safe one.
Same.
And it's always a pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity to allow me to call in, and, at least voice my concern and opinions as well.
Well, thank you for calling, not forgetting us.
Is always available to you, Dominic. Thank you very much for taking the time, and do have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Right. God bless. 745-2626 is the number. Got about 9 minutes still remaining before we have to wrap it up again for today and this week. But certainly still an opportunity if you want to offer up some commentary on the government's, again, announcement. The term limits will be introduced in the public sector, much like they have in the private sector, with one new addition. The break period in between will be extended from 1 year to 2 years. Does that indicate that maybe the private sector break may soon be amended? Again, we await some comments coming from the Honorable Minister of Labor, Honorable Michael Miles, hopefully in the coming days. But we do have, I think, 2 comments coming from our WhatsApp number. Let's go off to that now.
Good evening, Austin and Ellio. First of all, let me congratulate the government for taking the bull by the horns and delivering early, or at least starting to deliver on an election promise. But I think in the euphoria of the relief coming out of this, the issue still has to be asked, why did it take so long? Why did they introduce rollover in 2004 and then abandon it within a few weeks and then come now 2 decades later to do the right thing? Why? And then there's the issue also of jobs for Caymanians only. This one also has been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it is only now they want to implement it. If the governments are going to take this long to solve problems, they will become even more difficult to solve. Now, I think if I was writing that statement, I would have written it much, much better, because I think, to be frank with you, it was poorly done on the main issues. For example, you are asking about issues of transitional provisions. What happens with people who are already in government? Or how about those people who have signed contracts, have not yet arrived? How about those people who have already applied, but the decisions have not been made? How about those where they applied, they said, okay, it's all right, but submit more information. All those things really should have been clarified. So from that aspect, I'm sorry to say it was poorly done. If they had worked very well with the lawyers and the implementers. Then I ask people to also not to be too expectant about this because of two things. One, there are no targets. A friend of mine today called a show and said, look, if you are granting status at the rate of 1,500 per year, and the birth rate in the Cayman Islands is about 800 per year, only, and of those, only about 600 are Caymanians, you are still being replaced at about 2 or 3 times the birth rate. Government has to address that. You can talk about jobs for Caymanians, you can talk about mobility. If you don't deal with that, then you are not doing anything really that ultimately will benefit the people. And lastly, there's this issue of exemptions. Now, exemptions are always necessary in any system so that it can be flexible. But that's where the devil is going to be, because you have given so much status to people in government that a lot of the people who will be recommending exemptions are people who themselves are status holders, and some of those status holders do not have the interests of Caymanians at heart. To me, I would have rolled this a little bit differently. I would have given a little more detail, and then I would have tried to ensure that there is more of a detailed document to come out as a discussion paper, even at this point. But anyway, they say they will produce a discussion paper. I hope that these issues can be dealt with. But without targets, you are still going to be replaced as Caymanians. I thank you. Sorry, I have to comment about that letter by this so-called senior civil servant who might not even be. It is absolutely ridiculous to suggest that somehow this could be a problem. What people are talking about is about people who come being qualified. They come in, they can't get a job. About people who've been there for a long time, can't get a promotion. I have never met a single Caymanian who says that I want a job I'm not qualified for. So that's not the issue. The issue really is that there are things which have not been right and they have to be corrected. The idea of a balance is not a new idea, and to even suggest that somehow this policy might destroy certain things, it is the same nonsensical scare tactics that have been involved, peddled for a long time. And I think the government must see those views for what they are and continue doing what they have started to do and listen to the people. Don't listen to that civil servant. He is a waste of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much as well. I got to tell you.
Not to put such a fine point on it.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but sometimes you got to make a point and make it crystal clear for the avoidance of doubt. I was going to say that I really want to thank that caller and that listener. I enjoy his contributions to our ongoing conversation because they are thought-provoking, and he raises many excellent points.
Well, let me just say, of course,
I would say Dominique before him as well.
Of course, Dominique is always welcome and always put some good comments. But comment in particular on that one, I know the gentleman well. It being in office, he was one of the person that aided in the drafting of the pension amendment.
Yes.
And, he knows very well about the jobs for Caymanians only. Like I said, I think in large part, and this is one of the reasons why I take my hat off to the government, is because no one can tell me that this has not also been a big pride issue. You see victimization of people, and again, this is where I gave kudos when I saw Mr. J.E. Banks. Minister J.E. Banks, again, bring the Honorable Izzard Miller there as Speaker of the House.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, I'm not asking you, what you've seen typically from persons when they get elected, kill that guy. Let's starve him out and make sure that there's no way he can run in the next 4 years. And we're seeing the reverse of that. In addition to that, I see a dropping of the pride here. This is something the country needs. Let's move forward. And the jobs for Caymanians is personal, emotional, and everywhere else is music to my ears. But of course, that gentleman, he raises some good points in terms of the concerns with the birth rate and everything else. And of course, I think he talks about this senior civil servant. Those are, to his point, has always been a lot of scare tactics that have been used. But surely if you give Caymanians an opportunity, put them in the positions that they come there with the knowledge, they need the experience, put them there, give them the proper training, they're going to be able to do the jobs. Let's just face it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have foreign nationals coming into jobs, and how many Caymanians are sitting there on the job training the same foreign national to do the job. We hear this all the time. And I have known personal cases, even in the private sector, where you have an individual that has been earmarked. So they're down on the public service, whatever that board is called, permanent residency status board, whatever. They're down as a key employee, scheduled to be the manager of a particular department. And they're not even made aware of it. And this particular thing only happened because somebody made an error in writing the letter. That's how they learned about it, that they were down to be the manager. And, of course, you know what happens? You don't know about that. And if sometime when you get near the point, you get a constructive dismissal. Nonsense. We need to start getting our Caymanians in those positions, and I give kudos. And one of those jobs for Caymanians only is short of deputy governor. The deputy governor is a job for Caymanians only.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm pretty sure, not that we want Mr. Franz Manson gone anytime soon, but I'm pretty sure he's already doing his succession planning as well.
Yes, yes. Well, again, we will continue to echo, as we have said, congratulations to the government, obviously making an impact within their first 100 days.
Yep.
You know, the caller, the contributor a little while ago asked what took so long. Well, I could only surmise that we had to wait for the right administration with the testicular fortitude and the confidence in themselves that by taking this road...
It's not ruled by pride.
Well, they're not ruled by pride, but also, again, have greater faith in their own people that we will be okay. But at 28 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, that's all the time we have for you this week, reminding you to tune in each and every weekday evening at 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. for more Straight Talk right here on your very favorite Bobo 103.1 FM. Looking forward to next week, Ellio.
See you on Monday. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget your friends here in Straight Talk at 4:30 Monday.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1. The following commercial messages are brought to you exclusively by Stingray Media.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
We just don't understand how you can afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3. Gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shetton Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value meals. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
It's trivia every Wednesday from 7 o'clock at Sandbar on the Georgetown waterfront. Your chance to win some fantastic prizes in our free-to-enter Trivia Madness. Great offers on beer buckets, margaritas, and a delicious menu served throughout the evening. Grab your pals and get along to Sandbar every Wednesday from 7 o'clock for the most fun you can have with your clothes on.